Hey, what's up? I'm back again. Well, what do you know? I'm making another video, and hopefully, if I turn this way and let the sun shine on me, you can see my hair a little bit better. Not that you really see much, but hopefully, you're seeing that it's just a little bit lighter than usual. But, before it grows out completely, I would just like to show what I did to my hair this summer. And what I would like to talk about, okay, first of all, I'd like to say that this is the month of September, the Sapphire month, and it's one of my favorite calendar flips of the year. Not because I necessarily like September, but because I like that turning point, okay? I love back to school. I got this beautiful notebook. I don't know what I'm going to put in it, but I can always use a good binder. Basically, I love this turning point. I call it the burr months, okay? When you finally get into the months that end with BER, it seems like the weather should be a lot colder than it is, okay? I mean, let's be real. September is still technically summer for at least 3 weeks. And of course, it feels like summer longer than that around here. But, at least you know that you're in the last third of the year. And of course, when you're out of the burr months, it will be the following year and you'll have had Christmas. So I've always associated deep blue, like a sapphire blue, with September, pink or orange with October, depending on what part of October it is. If it's closer to Halloween, I think of pumpkins and orange. And then November, some kind of a deep golden yellow. And then December, either red or green interchangeably. So anyway, enough about the month and the page turn. I would also like to talk about how the subject matter, I haven't made a video about that in a while, but the subject matter that had kind of defined my channel, so to speak, is no longer something I really care about anymore. And what I mean by that is I'm finally starting to see relief from the obsession. And I'm just, it's like I can't even find the motivation to even think about that subject matter, let alone make videos about it anymore. And that's a good thing. I was just thinking about how, it's like I have so much to do in so little time as far as this move, that it's like I can't even bring myself to think about that show or anything pertaining to it. And just like all my other obsessions, every obsession pretty much that I've ever had, I look back on it after I step away from it for a while, and I think, now why was I so obsessed with that subject matter? Why did it consume my life so much? And very few things have remained my obsession for years on end, except maybe the doll collecting thing. And even then, I ask myself, why do I have all these dolls? Why do I need all these dolls? Why can't I stop? And it's like, I hope this doesn't ever happen. But if for some reason, if for whatever reason, I were separated from those dolls and unable to get more of them, I have a feeling that I would look back on that and think, why? Why did I waste so much time and energy on those dolls? And, I'm just starting to feel that way about the subject that defined my channel, so to speak. And the only reason I don't delete those videos or put them on private is because they're getting the most views, and that's a wonderful thing. But, it's just, I cannot bring myself to care anymore. Like, just like so many things, I'm finally starting to see the end of that obsession, as well as my desire to have anything to do with the subject. There was a time when I would check the Rugrats comic just instinctively. It's like I was practically watching the clock to see, when the next comic would be released. And it would happen around the same time every day. But now it's like, I'll go days without even thinking about it. And that's a wonderful change. That is a wonderful change, and it is a step in the right direction. So basically, it's to the point where it's like, like I stayed at my mom's house this summer, and I would have stayed longer if I could have, if I wouldn't have had so much to do over here. But, I'm pretty sure that Nickelodeon was airing episodes of the new and not so improved Rugrats that I couldn't care less about. Every Friday, I think, it was playing on Nickelodeon, and probably still is. But, the fact that my mom doesn't have a TV and she has a TV, but she doesn't have cable, and she doesn't intend to get cable, just didn't bother me in the least. That was not a reason that I wanted to come back, okay? Because the first Friday after I was back, I made no effort to watch it. And that's just how I feel about it, I just couldn't care less about it. This new Rugrats. And it's like that with so many things. It's like, I'm just to the point where I just feel like I've invested enough of my time into that crappy show. And one thing I did do while I was at my mom's was we watched some movies. She has a TV and she can play DVDs, which ironically my dad doesn't have his DVD player hooked up, so we can only watch what's on TV or in the database. So it's kind of the other way around at my mom's house. She has this outdated DVD player and she can watch movies. And so we did watch movies that had nothing to do with Rugrats, nothing to do with any cartoon really. Were not for children. They were just mature adult movies. And it's just so much more pleasant. It's a much more pleasant experience to watch movies that are made for adult women like me. People that, have seen the 4 seasons come and go so many times that it's no longer special. Just adults that don't talk about their bodily functions, that actually talk about people and relationships and things that really matter and are not embarrassing. It's just so much of an improvement, and I've just basically backed away from the obsession just long enough to think, now, why was I obsessed with that? Sort of like the Sophia the First obsession and so many others. And it's just always been like that with my obsessions. It's like I'll begin to obsess on something, and I'll have either one main obsession that just controls my life pretty much. Every other thought in my head is that obsession. Or I'll have multiple obsessions that are closely related. And what I mean by that is, like, for instance, I became obsessed with Alaska many years ago in elementary school because we studied it in order to read a book about it. A book set in Alaska. Okay, so I became obsessed with Alaska as my main obsession. Imagine that obsession being in the driver's seat. But then to a lesser degree, I was obsessed with, say, Canada and, places with a similar climate. Okay, because back then I didn't have the internet. And so it's like once I would finish reading about Alaska in our encyclopedias, well, then I'd read about Canada. And the same thing with other obsessions that I've had, like a lot of things. I might have been obsessed with the common cold, and then if reading about that wasn't enough, I'd read about infectious disease in general, other infectious diseases. And so it would kind of branch out into other obsessions. When I was obsessed with Rugrats, I might begin to watch, say, the Doug show leading up to it. And not so much because I like Doug, but because I had to be there when Rugrats began didn't want to miss that show. And so I'd start watching TV a little before 6:30 and end up watching part of Doug or most of it. And I began to memorize those episodes without necessarily wanting to. And then I'd watch other surrounding shows, like Hey Arnold. And I didn't know as much about those, but, sometimes I ended up watching other things on Nickelodeon. And so it's like it kind of branches out. But once you back away from an obsession, it's like you just look back and you think, why? Why do I have so many videos about that subject matter? Why did it consume my thoughts so much? And I just feel like I have no use for the show or the new one, the old one, because as far as I'm concerned, this is how I see it, okay? It will never get better. And I've already talked about the episode that's my favorite, All's Well That Pretends Well. It will never be better than the original for the simple reason that with every passing day, the voice actresses are that much further from the age of the characters, okay? I mean, it was already bad enough, that they were like old enough to be the moms or the characters. But they will never get younger, and it will never be better than it was when the parents of the characters were actually older than the voice actors or actresses. So, it'll never be better than when they had all the original people. It just never will. And I'm never gonna, I have no intention of watching it. And I'd like to back away from it as far as I can. I'd like to get further out of the obsession, not into it. Okay? And as I stated before, if they're going to be woke and have LGBT characters, I have no use for it. And that's the way I feel, If the same people defending the show and all the things that were wrong with it, past, present, and future, are the same people that think it's okay for kids to decide they're the opposite sex, well, I know I'm right in my criticism of it. And I know I'm right in not watching it. So, it's just so nice to be in the adult movie world. And I don't mean that literally. I mean like movies for adults, not adult movies. It was so nice to be, in a place where I didn't even have the option to think about it or watch it. And I don't intend to start.